Uh,
Got two more to go, man. One has to do with directional degrees of direction. The other one
turning
has to do,
turning conductor.
say it again.
Turning
Turn
conductor.
coordinator, turn
Turn
coordinator. That's
coordinator.
your
Turn
rate of turn.
coordinator.
So now you got one more, and I just gave you a clue. It has to do with those degrees, 360-degree radial. You're
Um,
almost there. I'll give it to you. It's the heading indicator. That's the one you were missing.
heading. Oh my gosh.
So look,
Everything
as
else
you're
was
listening, Joseph, as you're listening to other people recite it, listen in on what they're talking about, what it's called. There are four things. I'll go ahead and tell you guys because I expect you to tell me what you're giving me. So there's the six pack of instruments. That's the name of the first set. There's a four forces of flight, four stages of a piston engine, three flight control. Are you guys hearing that, brother?
Bro, you really muffled, man. Really muffled. Now we can't hear you at all.
All right, we're gonna do something a little different. Hold on. I'm gonna do away with this headset, basically. All right, I may sound the sound may be a little different, but can you guys hear me now? Okay. All right, I'm using my actual webcam now for the microphone instead of this
I'm
stupid
ready.
head. All right, who's next?
Me.
Go for it, Ja'Cory. I like that confidence. He said, I got next.
The, sh- the four stages of a piston engine: intake, compress, compression, power, exhaust.
Excellent. And so you only got one more to go because you gave me the forces and the flight controls. So what's the last set you got to give me and what's the name of that set?
The six packs of instruments:
There you go. Excellent.
airspeed indicator, attitude indicator, altimeter,
Altimeter. Close. Altimeter. There you go.
altim, altimeter, turn coordinator, heading indicator, vertical speed indicator.
Boy, you nailed it. You nailed it. Who got next? Can't hear nobody. Don't be shy. I'll start going down the list. Jezen, is Jezen on? I don't think I see Jezen.
Yeah.
There he is. You gave me the six pack and you gave me the engines last time. So you got to give me two more things and you'll be good. You
I
ready?
the primary flight control axis is the yaw, pitch, and roll,
There you go.
and the four forces of flight is lift, weight, thrust, and drag.
All right, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm just checking you guys off. Give me a sec. All right, who next? Natea, did you raise your hand? No, no. You scared? Who else? Who next? Who next? Who next? Who next? All
I
right.
already did it.
Oh, you did it all? Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, you're good. Let me make sure I mark you. I forgot to mark folks last time. Nope, you're absolutely right. I just checked. I think you're the only one that was done last time. Kai Isoke. Where you at? I know I seen you on here. There she is. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I want to make sure I'm saying your name right because I'm super forgetful. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you said it right.
I win. There we go. All right, go for it.
Okay. Four forces of flight: lift, weight, thrust, and drag.
Yep.
Three control axes: pitch, roll, and yaw.
Yep.
Four stages of a piston engine: intake, compression, power, and exhaust.
Flawless victory, and you already gave me the fourth, so we're good. We are good. Who else? Who else was almost there? That was it as far as the folks I heard from then. So Micah, go for it. See what you got.
Okay. Um, the four forces of flight are lift, weight, thrust, and drag. And the six pack of instruments is airspeed indicator, attitude indicator, altimeter, turn coordinator, heading indicator, and the vertical speed indicator.
Excellent.
And then the three flight control axes is pitch, roll, and yaw. And
Yep.
then the four stages of a piston engine is intake, compression, power, and exhaust.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Excellent. Oh boy, y'all making my day. Y'all been working. Y'all been in the gym. Y'all been shooting in the gym. I forgot to I gotta change your name away from Sarah Dane so I don't accidentally call you Sarah like I almost did. All
Mhm.
right, go for it, Dane.
The four forces of flight are lift, weight, thrust, and drag. The three flight control axes are yaw, pitch, and roll. The four stages of a power or piston engine is intake, compression, power, and exhaust. And the six pack is altimeter, um, vertical speed indicator, heading indicator, turning indicator, um, airspeed indicator, and attitude.
Very good. Very, very good, man. Good job, Dane. All right, let's see. I don't see Dakari, but I do see Jada. Go for it, Jada. Jada, can you hear me? You still on mute, Jada. There we go.
The four forces of flight are weight, thrust, drag, and lift.
Okay, there we go. What else you got?
Airspeed indicator, vertical speed indicator, heading indicator, turn coordinator, altimeter, and attitude indicator.
There it is. Very good. So that's the six pack. What else you got?
Roll, roll, pitch, and yaw.
What are those three things called?
Uh, I forgot.
The three axes of flight. So you're talking about the three different things an airplane can do. You know, it can pitch up and down, it can roll left wing down, right wing down, or it can yaw, which is straight left and right. All right. All right. And then you got one more.
In- Intake, exhaust, compression, and power.
So this is one thing you have to say in order, though, because it does happen in a very, very specific order. Do you know what we're talking about when we say those four words? Do you remember? Or even
Yes,
if you
the engine.
Yeah, it's about engines, but they do happen in that order. All right, so it is literally, as a piston is moving up and down in the cylinder, it's intake, compression, as it's compressing that fuel air mixture, followed by power and exhaust. So intake, compression, power, exhaust. So keep that in mind next time. You have to say those things in order. Other things I could care less about, but that right there, you definitely got to say in order. All right, good stuff. So you gave me all four. Elijah, go for it, man.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
All right, so the four stages of piston engine is intake, compression, power, exhaust.
Hmm.
Six packs of instrument is airspeed indicator, uh, altimeter,
Hmm.
attitude indicator, turn coordinator, heading indicator, and vertical speed indicator.
There you go, man. Good stuff. Good.
The three axis of flight is pitch, roll, and yaw.
Mm-hmm.
Final one. What was the last one? Uh, what was the last one?
So you gave
Wait,
me six pack. You gave me axes. What was the first thing you gave me?
the four stages of the piston engine.
Okay, so you now have forces.
Oh, the forces. It's thrust, weight, lift, and drag.
All right, good stuff, man. All right, I think we also sounds like we only got one person absent today, and that's Dakari. So I'll hear from him later. I'll check in on them because I know they've been like really sick, like really, really sick. So I'll check in on those folks later as far as him and his aunt and his uncle. Let's see. So we got through those. I'm going to share my screen. Good job, everybody, man. This is really, really good. This is a big deal. Getting over that hump. It's the only time you'll have to learn that many terms at once. The things that you'll commit to memory, for week two will be the first eight letters of the phonetic alphabet, because this is when you start learning that phonetic. And we'll talk about that more too, as to what that's all about and why the heck we care about it. But I'm gonna share my screen. Let me make some adjustments on my end. One of my favorite subjects or grouping of subjects. All right. So you guys can see my screen? All right. So now we're looking at week two, airports, air traffic control, and airspace. So there's some questions we hope to answer today, and you'll see that this week it's these two slides. So first we start getting into runways. How do you determine which runway to land on? Does anybody know that the primary factor of determining if you're approaching an airport and you have a choice of landing that airplane on one side of the airstrip or the other side? Do you guys know what the biggest determining factor would be? Joseph, I got to see your face, man. You disappeared from me. Joseph, are you there? Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so I'll check back later. But yeah, what do you guys think is the biggest factor in determining which
Sorry,
runway?
yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I got to see your face, man. What happened to you?
Yeah, sorry. There was a spill in the car. I had to grab it. I'm on my
Is it
way home from the game.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
is
But
it the
yeah,
wind?
does anybody know?
Is it the wind?
Yes, it is. How'd you know that? What made you think about that, Jacori?
I don't know.
I don't know. You might have saw it in the slides. I don't know. Or you might have just thought about it. You might have just came up with it. Whatever the case, you're absolutely right. So you'll see that in week two, there's an extra set of papers in the week two like folder divider. If you flip through your actual notebook. By the way, make sure you got your notebooks in front of you because there may be times where you got to write in there. Um, but if I click here, it will automatically click to that other set of slides. And so again, in your actual folder, if you could see my face, you'll see that you'll have an actual divider. And these papers right here are alluding to the slides that I'm showing you on my screen. So everything that you have digitally, you have in that notebook too. And so what we're doing here is we're showing a scenario of okay, I'm approaching an airport. I don't even know what airport this is, but you'll see that there's two sets of airstrips here, and these runways that I could land on, they're numbered in a certain way. All right. And so this is where your heading indicator will come into play. I just flipped to the second slide right here and notice the heading indicator just popped up between slide one and slide two. Um, and you'll see that I'm giving myself a given direction as far as what direction I'm actually flying in. And let's say that this is my direction. This heading indicator, which is one of your six instruments that you gave me, is currently showing heading 230. All right, which would be recognized as a 2-3 on the heading indicator. Notice that, we're talking about this part at the top. Can you guys see my mouse moving? All right, we're talking about this part at the top, and wherever this is pointing to, that's my current heading. So if you see there's a 2-1 for 210 degrees over here, there's a 2-4 for 240 degrees right here. I am right in, almost directly in between. I'm at 230 degrees. And per what I was discussing with you guys before, you can see that this is situated, roughly southwest, because you see a south heading here, which is 180 degrees. You see a west heading here, which is 270 degrees. And you can see kind of how these numbers go in order from 180 degrees all the way to 270 degrees where my mouse is now. But my current heading per this scenario that we're giving you is 230 degrees. And so the next slide, of course, it says exactly what I just told you. My current heading is 230 degrees. I am roughly southwest. All right. You can notice that the heading indicator will say a 2-3, even though this type of indicator, you won't see it pop up, but just know that on the indicator, it's going to be recognized as 2-3, where you have to drop the 0. That's why I put the 0 in big bold type right here. So you can see the relationship. All right. And again, I'm showing how you're situated between south and west. Now we're getting into the runways. So the runway says 2-5. And I just kind of blew that up for you guys to see. So the runway off to my right says 2-5, which means if I see a runway 2-5, how many degrees is that? Somebody tell me. It's literally on the slide. How many degrees is runway 2-5 situated? Y'all can just come out and say it if you know. It's right in front of you.
250?
Yes, 250. That's exactly right. And so if I go down one more, now, we're on slide number 7. You can see the slide numbers in the lower right corner. Again, you got it on your digital copy. You also got it in your notebook. Now we're pointing out the runway to my left, which is runway 19. And if I see a runway that has the numbers 19 on it for 19, how many degrees is that situated on my 360-degree radial? Somebody tell me other than Jacory.
190.
That's it. It's that simple. You're just adding on a 0 to it. All right. And so let's say the wind is also coming from, notice how I'm saying that, it's coming out of 190 degrees. All right. The way we talk about runways is the complete opposite from the way we talk about the winds, but there's really, really good reason for that. Even though the winds may be coming from, let's say, 190 degrees in this case, it's going to be like in the direction of 10 degrees. But we like to talk about winds in terms of what direction it's coming from, not what direction it's actually heading, because we can line that number up with the number on the runway. And what that means is, pilots like to face the winds, when we land. We want the winds to be as much in front of us as possible. We don't want the winds to be behind us. Now, when we're traveling, midair, we're very picky. We want the winds behind us. We want the winds to be pushing us. We're just some picky pilots who are trying to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. So if we're in cruise, we want a tailwind. All right. Tailwind meaning the winds are pushing you from behind. They are going in the same direction that you're going. They're just pushing behind you and helping you go faster. But when I'm landing, I want winds to be in front of me, which is called a headwind. All right. I want as much of a headwind as possible. And so we talk about winds in terms of where they're coming from, not necessarily the direction they're going, because we want to line up that number with the closest applicable runway. This scenario is about as easy as it gets because the winds are coming from the same direction that I'm flying into the runway on. All right. So notice that if you see my mouse right here, I'm at runway 19. Runway 19 is situated 190 degrees because I have to place a 0 there. But notice my winds are also 190 degrees. We're giving you this scenario because we're letting you know the best case scenario. All right. We're letting you know the easiest thing. I don't even have to think about it. If my winds are situated as coming from the same direction of the runway that I need to land on, I can't get any better than that. And so this is the easiest scenario you're going to see. All right. Let's see. And so you can see in the next slide, it says, which runway should I land on? I'll go ahead and give you the answer. It's going to be runway 19 because that's where the winds are coming from. And they're just going to line straight up. All right. So just to apply a little bit of thinking to this and to make sure you guys are paying attention, just to challenge you a little bit. If I were to instead, let's say runway 19 is closed, all right? I am not able to land at runway 19. And let's say my only choice for whatever reason is to land at runway 25, which you see on the right, all right? If that is the case and I am landing at runway 25, are the winds going to be coming at me from the left or are the winds going to be coming at me from the right? If I am situated in the same direction of landing at runway 25, where my mouse is, if you can see my mouse hovering, meaning I'm not landing over here where the winds would have been right in front of me, okay? They wouldn't have been left or right. They would have been right in front of me. Perfect scenario. Let's say 19 is closed and I have to go over here and land. Would the winds, if my airplane is going this way where you see these arrows are, in order to land at this runway, are the winds, the directions that you see in red, would those winds be to my left or to my right?
Left.
Anybody?
Left.
They would be left. You guys are right. It's exactly what you see on this picture. The winds would be to my left. That's important because as I'm approaching that runway, I know that if those winds are coming from my left, they're going to be pushing me to the right. If they're coming from my left, and I have my eager aircraft right here, and those winds are coming at me from the left, they're going to be trying to push me off track to the right. And so there's certain things I can do to kind of counter that as I'm coming in. But I have to know that. I have to know that coming in. I have to be able to feel that, and I have to know it at the same time so I know how to correct. All right. So that's a really, really good situational awareness type of question. And so, of course, because in this case, me landing at runway 19, that's why I lit it up green here because the winds are closest to 19. Now, here's a new scenario. We've changed up the wind direction. Now the wind direction is 140 degrees, meaning the winds are coming out of 140. All right. And I'm currently flying at 230, but I have to start lining up for one of these runways. Which runway should I land on? Should I land on runway 25 or should I land on runway 19? And before you answer that, the real question I'm asking you is 140 degrees closer to 190 degrees or is it closer to 250 degrees? Literally, the number itself closer to 190 degrees or is it closer to 250 degrees?
190. 190.
That's it. It is that simple. So it gets complicated if I were to give you a scenario that crosses over the 360 degree radio back into 10, 20, 30, 40 degrees, but we're purposefully not doing that right now. But you're absolutely right. It's still going to be 190. All right. It's still going to be runway 19, which is best. And when I try to land at that airport, when I try to land at that runway, take a look at this 360 degree radio and watch what I do here. I think I do it in the next slide. Or is that the last slide? No, I don't do it here. But take a look at where my mouse is. My mouse right here is about 140 degrees, okay? And my indication is telling me the winds are coming from that direction. When I say my indication, I mean what I just made up in red, right? The heading indicator ain't gonna tell you which way the winds are coming. But we're creating that scenario for you. So where my mouse is hovering is 140. Where my runway is situated is right about here. Okay, where my mouse is hovering. And my current heading as I'm approaching the airport is here, where my mouse is hovering. I'm going to introduce this to you one more time before I ask you the ultimate question. Winds are coming out of here. Best runway is right here. Current heading is right here at 230 degrees. If I'm flying at 230 degrees and I'm approaching the airport the way that I am, the way that this picture says, am I going to turn right in order to land on the runway, or am I going to turn left in order to land on the runway? If I'm coming from 230 degrees and the runway is situated 190 degrees, what do you guys think? Am I going to turn right in order to land or left in order to land?
Left.
Yep, I'm going to turn left. I'm going to turn left from 230. I'm eventually going to situate myself in a landing pattern, and in order to hit what we call the final leg, I will have to face the runway at 190. It's going to be a left turn eventually to 190. If I'm coming from the airport in the way that I am in this picture. All right. Last question. As I start lining up, look at my mouse. As I start lining up for runway 19, and I know that my winds are coming out of 140 degrees. Again, looking at my heading indicator, look at where my mouse is hovering for the runway. Now look at where my mouse is hovering for the winds. Are the winds coming from my left or are they coming from my right? As
Right,
I'm,
left.
Left.
yep, yep, it's left. All right, it really is that simple. Really is that simple. The winds are going to be coming at me from my left, so I kind of need to counter that because those winds coming from my left are going to be pushing me off to the right. I need to know those. I need to be prepared for those things ahead of time. Depending on how fast those winds are going, complicates things even more. All right. Let's see. So you're going to have some homework questions centered around that. You can see questions 1 and 2. They're talking about what's the name of the instrument. They're talking about what is your current direction. And notice that when they say direction, that's different from asking about runway. Runway, we know, is going to be, you're going to knock a 0 off, basically. And I'm practically giving you the answer. But when it comes to a actual direction, you need to know the full degrees. You'll see other questions here. Which runway do you land on? Now it's giving you a different wind direction. And it's even showing you that wind direction on the heading indicator so you know what's left and what's right. All right. So that's what those questions are about, similar to what I just asked. Now you got another wind direction for questions 5 and 6 on here. Then you'll get into some other stuff, and we're about to discuss what some of this is about in a little bit. So going back to the very first slide, now we're talking about air traffic control. All right. This will get a little interesting. We're doing good on time too. This is one of my favorite resources. That's already where I wanted it to.
Can I go grab a charger?
There we go. All right, so everybody see my screen still? You guys, all right, cool. So this is an app called FlightAware, and it's showing in almost real time actual planes that are flying around. Can anybody tell me what airport I'm looking at right now?
The Orlando airport.
Yep. So this is MCO. You can literally see it written here. And you can see planes coming in to land, right? This plane right here is coming in. JBU looks like a JetBlue plane. It's coming into this runway. Um, you'll see that there are 4 parallel runways. And Orlando does some really, really tricky stuff when it comes to their runway numbers. Because if all 4 runways are situated in the exact same direction, how do you know which runway is what? So Orlando has this system, and I haven't talked about this in a while. Let me see how much I can zoom in on it, see if it'll let you see it. Oh, it will let you see it. Aha. Notice that two of their runways are situated as 180 degrees and 360 degrees. In other words, 1.8 and 3.6. The two left runways are situated as 1.7 and 3.5. And what you'll notice is next to each of these runways, you'll see a L and a R. Just like over here with my mouse, a L and a R. What do you guys think the L's and the R's stand for? This ain't a homework question, by the way. It
Left
stands
and
for,
right.
it does stand for left and right. It does stand for left and right. And it's in order for us to distinguish which runway air traffic control wants us to land on. And this is just alluding into the job of air traffic controllers in part. They are literally controlling the air traffic. That is their whole purpose in this job. And by the planes coming out in this direction, it tells you that the winds must be coming at them from either the north or the northwest or the northeast, most likely, because air traffic control is usually, they're going to want to line you up in terms of that wind direction. That's interesting. That thing did a whole, if this is truly live, it did a touch and go. They do train out there, I guess. Because I just saw that plane land and then it took back off.
It,
But
it, it probably wasn't a touch and go. It's probably a go around.
oh, you think so? Yeah, maybe it was. Or maybe it just landed because now I don't see it at all. Maybe it just stayed on radar for a while, a little longer than usual. I don't know. But either way, now you have another plane here coming in and it's going to land at that same runway. But yeah, one thing you can know fairly certain is that if they're landing in the north direction, then the winds must be coming out of the north or the northwest or the northeast so that those winds are ahead of them. And that's a huge part of what air traffic controllers do. If you go here, you can see, I can't tell if this plane is landing or not. Yeah, maybe it is. You can see that you got planes coming into Melbourne Airport, and that is a controlled airspace. However, this place right here, which you guys should be familiar with right by now, Bulgaria Airport does not have a control tower. So how the heck are we supposed to figure out where to land? We have to actually check for weather at that airport on our own. It's every pilot for him or herself. And we have to figure out what those winds are. When we're fairly far away from the airport, we'll dial into a certain radio frequency and hear the weather report. But not all airports even have those frequencies. So worst case, you might have to fly over that airport and check for what we call a windsock. And you guys have seen windsocks before, whether you realize it or not, but we can tell which way the wind is going depending on that windsock. But let me ask you this, are there any other things we can look at in our environment to be able to tell which way the winds are coming from? What other things out there in our environment will allow us to make some kind of fair determination as to which way the winds are coming from? Having nothing to do necessarily with airports. Can anybody take a guess?
The trees?
Could be. Very, very much so. Now we're thinking. Very, very much so. Say it again.
Flags.
Flags. Ooh, even better. Because a lot of times you might see some flags at an airport. You know, like Valkyria actually has flags at their airport. So you got trees, you got flags. Pilots like to talk about smokestacks. You know, if there happens to be some kind of factory plant that has smoke coming out of the stacks, which way are those smokestacks being blown? So there's a number of possible indications out there that we all got to utilize. We got to use our resource. We got to use the environment around us. Because best believe every now and then people pick on my ghetto Valkyria airport, but she'll treat you right. All right. Sometimes those frequencies don't work, and you just got to utilize the resources around you, you know. So we got to know, we got to be able to think ahead, you know, worst case, because what we don't want to do is just take a guess. I also had a link here for being able to listen to live ATC. I don't think you guys will be able to hear it over this feed, but just know that in your digital copy on this first slide for week 2, you can click on Orlando ATC and actually listen to pilots and air traffic controllers actually talking over the radio. And you can listen to a lot of different frequencies. I pick Orlando because it's just busy as hell. It's just always something going on. So usually it's never a dull moment. All right. Let's see. So now, what's I talking about here? Excuse me. So this is another resource I love to use. And going back to Orlando Airport again, this is my purpose in pulling this up is to show you just how vastly complicated this system can be as far as the national aerospace or the national airspace system. And so you have these different types of airspaces, and you'll notice that over Orlando, you have a bunch of blue circles and lines and stuff like that over Orlando. And it's just a relatively huge space. And now you start getting into different classifications of airports. So Orlando is considered a class Bravo, class B. All right. Class B is your largest type of airport, pretty much. And then you have classes C, D. Matter of fact, this is class D, which is our Melbourne right here. And you'll see it's denoted by this dotted line. We won't get too deep into airspaces, but this is just to show you just what this system looks like. Here's these magenta lines around Sanford. Sanford is considered a class C. All right. But notice I never said anything about class A. Has anybody ever, or could anybody take a guess if class B is my largest airport type, period? Then what the heck would a class A be? So class A is pertaining to a certain altitude where you're so high up that there's certain factors you don't have to worry about, and there's certain factors you do. And so I'm gonna show you guys really quick. Let's see. I'll show you this this side-by-side map so you can see the comparisons here. So anytime folks talk about what's called an upside down wedding cake, they're talking about especially class B and C. Class B being, ridiculously huge, your biggest airports, Charlotte, Chicago, Atlanta, Orlando. But class A is anything 18,000 feet and above. So it has nothing to do with an airport. It has everything to do with being above that height. And there are other rules that start to change and come into play when you're that high also. I won't dig too deep into that, but just know that class A is referring to things airspace over 18,000 all the way up to flight level 600, which is 60,000 feet. Really, 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 really high. So just wanted you guys to be able to see that layout there. Now, in order to become a pilot, there's a lot of rules you have to follow, just like you have rules of the road. So in this lesson, we wanted to pull one example of a rule, a very, very important rule, a critical rule that you have to follow when flying these airplanes. And we chose the one involving the directions you need to be depending on your heading. So, if you're flying, let's say you have to go somewhere to the east. Let's say I'm going from Melbourne to Tampa. Because I'm flying east, depending on whether I'm what's called VFR or IFR, and let's say VFR, because we've centered this around VFR, I have to be at a certain height plus 500. Particularly, I have to be at an odd numbered height plus 500. So 5,000 feet, for example, if I'm going east would actually work, but then I have to add 500 to it, so it'd be 5,500. I'm just giving you just one example here, but now I'm going to dig into some visuals so it'll make some sense to you. So Notice we have this picture, and Ian actually touched on this, Clint, believe it or not, when he was talking to the kids last Saturday. He touched on this slightly. He was like, "Hey, I don't know if they'll go over this," and I yelled out, "Week two, week two." Well, this is what I'm talking about. So you have different types of heights, and the first thing you'll see here, if you see my mouse, is mean sea level. And so it's literally just looking at this depiction. Does anybody remember from math, because you guys start learning this probably even before sixth grade. Do you guys know what mean means in math? Anybody recall what does mean? What does that mean when it comes to math? It doesn't mean being not nice to people. It's a whole different meaning. So when we say mean, we're talking average.
The average of a set of two numbers or more.
Yep. Yep. You're talking about an average, except in this case, it's a much larger subset than just two numbers. But either way, you're talking about an average. All right. So look at that as average sea level that they have established as a 0 point. Okay. Valkyria Airport, for example, is only 26 feet above sea level. And in my mind, that seems like a lot of feet for a doggone airport that's right near the ocean. But that's what it is. It's 26 feet. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and Charlotte is hundreds of feet above sea level. I want to say it's either in the 700s or 900s. Iowa, again, it's a 700 and something in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, above sea level. All right. So where you're living, you may already be above that 0 point of mean sea level, most likely. If you're living at sea level, you might have some other problems, some other issues. But either way, it's worth being able to distinguish those two things. Your current elevation versus, where you are in relation to mean sea level. And so what this picture shows this little house, and it happens to be 500 mean sea level. All right. 500 feet mean sea level. Like it's saying that it is 500 feet above sea level. And in this scenario, you have this airplane, and you also have these arrows situated west and east. And so this plane, according to these arrows, and just looking at here, we're situating west with left in this case. This airplane is headed west. And notice that even though the house is right here at 500, this higher peak where the airplane happens to be is 1,000 MSL. So it's almost like a mountain, but really you could look at this as the entire United States going from the eastern seaboard further out west to some known point. All right. And so the plane is above, it may be a certain height above sea level, but it's also a certain height above the elevation under it. And we call that above ground level. So there are two types of heights here. There's mean sea level or MSL, and then there's AGL, above ground level. And so you have these visual flight rules. West equals even, even numbers plus 500, and east is odd plus 500. What the heck does that mean? Well, if we go to this next slide, you can see you have a plane going west, you have a plane going east, and then here's the most revealing one. We can see that the plane is going west, so we highlighted the arrow west here. And now we've put some numbers right here, all right? And so the plane is going 4,000, it's actually at an ideal altitude for this plane to fly is 4,000 feet plus 500, which is 4,500. And so that's what it's all about. We're trying to figure out if I'm going to go, in this case, west, then what's a safe altitude for me to fly at where I won't run into the ground, but I'll be above, the ground below me high enough, and I'll be following the FAA rules. Because when we say even, we only mean this number right here. We're talking about this number right here before the comma. If the number before the comma is an even number, we're good. We can go west in that direction. If the number before the comma is an odd number, we have to go in the east direction. There's also a stipulation of, it has to be at least above 3,000 feet. We won't dig too deep into that. But the whole point is for you to be able to recognize what we mean by even and odd. All right. Can anybody tell me then what would be the problem if instead of flying 4,000 feet in this scenario, what if I was only flying 1,000 feet above sea level? 1,000 feet above sea level. What problem would I run into there? Because right now it shows me 4,000. I seem to be pretty safe at 4,000. And I'm following the FAA rules. What if I was only flying 1,000 feet in this scenario? Anybody want to give it a shot?
You would run into the mountain.
I would run into the mountains. I'd run into the ground. It would be really, really bad. All right. I'd be not following the FAA rules, and I'd be running into the ground. All right. Now, that being said, if the ground below me, according to this picture, is 1,000 feet, all right, above sea level, and I'm flying at 4,000, how high am I from the ground? Anybody? How high am I from the ground? Take a look at the picture. If I'm flying at 4,000, the ground beneath me is 1,000. How high am I above the ground?
5,000.
5,000? No, it won't be 5,000. What's
3,000.
4,000? Go ahead. What'd you say?
3,000.
Yep, 3,000. And technically, because I'm supposed to be at 4,500 instead of 4,000, it would technically be 3,500. But you get what I'm saying there. I'm supposed to be flying at 4,500 according to this scenario, which is 4,000 plus the 500 VFR rule. And so if I'm flying 4,500 and the ground below me is 1,000, then that means I am 3,000 or 3,500 in this case, AGL, above ground level. I am flying 3,500 AGL. If I'm flying, this is another question for you. If I'm flying 3,500 AGL, then what's my height for MSL, mean sea level? What's my mean sea level height? It's right there. The scenario shows that I'm flying at a certain height, and I have it in red. But I know that that's only 3,500 AGL. What is my altitude as far as MSL? It's literally written there.
500.
You said what?
500.
Nope, it's not 500. I'm adding 500 to my even so it's just 4,500. My point here is that I'm flying 4,500 MSL, but that's only 3,500 AGL because the height below me is at 1,000 feet. I have to subtract 1,000 feet in that case. I just want you to understand the relationships there. So I'm flying 4,500 feet MSL, and I come up with that altitude. I determine that altitude because I want to go west. So I need an even number before that comma. And by FAA rules, because I'm visual, I can see everything. I have to add 500 to it. So I'm flying 4,500 MSL, but that's only 3,500 above ground level, which is safe. That meets every rule. I'm doing the right thing there. So you're going to see homework surrounding those types of questions. So that's what this is about. It wants to make sure in this question number 7, for example, it wants to make sure that you understand what it means when we say west equals an even altitude plus 500, and B, just making sure you're adding that 500 to it. All right. Then you start getting into another scenario, basically asking the same thing. And it's showing you up here, what the direction of the aircraft is, and it's showing you the rule right here. East equals an odd number before the comma plus 500. All right. And then you get here and it starts talking about the name of that instrument, meaning which instrument is determining how high you are in the air. That's literally the question. And then the last question, believe it or not, we already answered in this class if you were paying attention. Actually, I didn't answer it. I think it was who was it? Was it Kai Isoke that answered it? Somebody answered it. Was it Natea? One of you guys answered it for everybody for the class. So nobody should get number 10 wrong. All right. As far as what that term means. Last part is so again, who can tell me when the homework is due each week? Do you guys know when the homework is due each week? When was it due last week?
Monday.
It's due before Monday, which means turn it in by sometime tomorrow. Turn it in sometime tomorrow, but not on Monday. It has to arrive in my inbox on Monday. Remember the email address you're supposed to send it to. Don't text it to me and don't send it to the Ramon Hempill at Gmail. I'll even text it to your parents again. Most of you guys sent it to the right place last time, actually, and thank you for that. But I'll remind you guys again, make sure you're sending it to the right inbox because I actually sort those out. I've actually looked at your homework. I actually take record of who's doing the homework, which everybody is, all right, and how well you're doing on it. The reason for that is by the time we do our Wednesday reviews, I will have recognized anything we happen to be weak on as a group. And notice I said we, because if there's a trend of us in this group that may not be grasping a certain concept, then the Wednesday reviews are giving me a chance to reinforce that stuff or possibly introduce it another way or somehow revisit that stuff. The other thing that will be due is what you're looking at right here, which is called the phonetic alphabet. Can anybody tell me when I'm talking on a radio and I want to say 1, 2, 3, ABC, why would I instead want to say 1, 2, 3, Alpha Bravo Charlie? Can anybody tell me why in the world would I want to talk like that on a radio? Natalie, you're welcome to answer it too. I see you over there. You can't hide from me. I see you.
I ain't giving her no answers.
Can I answer it?
Say that again.
Can I answer it?
Yes.
Because this is what I think. Because you know how you say like be as in boy, like sometimes it doesn't go over as well. You can't hear it as well. If you say the word, you know the first word, or you know the first letter of that word, so it makes it easier.
For how.
Correct.
Excellent.
Miscommunication.
You got to put yourself on mute if you're talking.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
You good. Joseph, you nailed it. I could not have better answered that, Joseph. You absolutely nailed it. That is the exact reason you want to do that. Because otherwise you could think a B is a D, you know? So that's exactly why anytime you're mentioning letters, you want to use the phonetic alphabet because that's a standardized system of recognizing those letters with sounds. All right. Because you're on a radio and you could easily, or a cell phone, you know, anything but talking face to face, you know, that message can get garbled up over radio waves, you know. So that's the reason. That's the reason why we have to talk that way. For week 2, you'll have to know the first 8 letters. Same way that you had to recite all those terms this time, you just have those 8 letters this time. Week 3, you'll have the next 8, and week 4, you'll have the last 10, and that'll be, you know, the whole 26-letter alphabet. So this is what you have to commit to memory. I challenge you to commit these to memory by the time we do our Wednesday review. If you don't have them, then you have to have them by the time we meet next Saturday, first thing, just like we did with those 17 terms today. All right. So you have the option to go ahead and try to commit those to memory. You know, one thing Clint always says, he stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So go ahead and commit those things to memory and spit them off by the time we meet at the Wednesday review if you're ready. But if not, that's okay. You can recite them first thing when we meet up next Saturday. So again, homework is due before Monday, so you may as well call it Sunday. You could submit it today. I already got somebody's homework. I was highly impressed that I already got somebody's homework. But yeah, you can submit it today. You can submit it tomorrow, not Monday. And as far as reciting those first 8 letters, Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta Echo Foster Golf Hotel, you have to know that on Saturday, but you can actually recite it when we meet up on Wednesday. Does anybody have any questions? It could be questions about the lesson. It could be questions about the letters, whatever you may have.
Wait, what exactly was the homework?
So the homework is your week 2. When you look at your notebook, go to week 2, and these slides for each week where you see the word review at the top, if you can see my mouse, anytime it says the word review, that's your homework.
Okay,
And
thank
you'll
you.
have a review for all weeks, except for technically you have a review for week 5 too, but it's really 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Does that help, Elijah?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So yeah, in this case, you have this slide, questions 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. Here's question 7, 8, 9, and 10. So you have those 10 questions. All of those slides will say review up here. The slides that are tucked into that folder for week 2, those are alluding to the other things we had looked at earlier. They're actually linked. If you look at your digital copy, they're actually linked on this first page, so you can see them digitally too. But these were printed out and placed in your week 2 folder, your divider for week 2. You'll see these. These just help you, with those first couple of questions on your homework. Sometimes you'll see in certain weeks, I'll have certain slides to help give you a deeper dive. Any other questions? All right. I'll take no news as good news. I appreciate you guys, man. Excellent job getting to know those 17 terms. I guarantee you 99% of your fellow classmates don't know none of that stuff, you know? So this definitely distinguishes you as far as your knowledge, the knowledge that you're gaining, as far as this whole aviation game. All right. So that was a big deal. You guys are taking the extra time outside of school, outside of sports, outside of any and all extracurriculars that you're passionate about and pouring that energy into this. And I'm extremely grateful for you guys. It means a whole lot to me. All right. I will catch you guys later. You guys have my contact. Hit me if you got any questions.
Thank you.
All right. See you later. Let's see.